Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the seminar co-organized by the New Ventures Legal Team and CLINDS at Chinese University of Hong Kong Faculty of Law. Today, we have the great honor and pleasure to have Dr. H.L. Yu to speak on different aspects of commercialization of technology and entrepreneurship today. I have known Dr. Yu for about a decade, so he's a good old friend. He has very, very diverse background, including working experiences as well as educational background. So he is the former Chief Corporate Development Officer at the Science Park, Hong Kong Science and Technology Park Corporation, as you know. He is also an entrepreneur, very experienced business manager in multinational enterprises such as Motorola Semiconductors and Freescale Semiconductors, where he served in various capacities from product development to business operation, including general manager for Asia Networking and Computing Group. And he is also an inventor, so he owns a number of patents, so very impressive background, and he knows a lot of things. So he got an MS degree, EMBA degree, so also a finance degree, but most notably, he is a JD from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So without further ado, so please welcome Dr. Yu.
Thank you, Professor Lee. Introduction, and this is a commitment to Professor Lee overdue for more than a year. That I commit to him to give some talk about technology here in this classroom, and this brings back a lot of memory because I'm a graduate from JD 2018, and in the graduation ceremony I was the only one that have gray hair, and I think tonight that. As Professor mentioned, my experience in the technology field and also the management field. And my initial is HL. In the past, people laugh at me that high-low, usually high-tech, you have a big problem, and low-tech, you make money. And today is different. You without high-tech in your plan, that's probably you are very low in probability of winning. And in the past, that in entrepreneurship, that we came across a lot of time that we have done some invention, and of course like the Dragon Ball chip. I'm not sure if you know there's a comic book about Dragon Ball, and in the past there was a Dragon Ball chip that go into one of the called Palm PDA. Personal digital assistant device that something that looks like a phone but not a phone is paved the way for a smartphone today. And of course, there was one application before by Sony that make the PDA into a phone, and that is the early stage of a smartphone. And the team that I brought up, the product was invented by me, and the team that I brought up was in the 90s. And if that is the time that we spin off that team, and probably the world is very different, okay? But we did not, and we kept going, and the product was overtaken by Japanese, Taiwanese, and now mainland chip suppliers. And the product was went to, like, in a very low volume applications. But I think the point here I want to make, I study a few area because of the business needs, and primarily for my work in Science Park and the other areas. And JD is one of the most memorable, and by the way, is most difficult. Even more difficult than a doctorate degree, to be honest. Okay, and I want to cover a few things. Since I left the Science Park, and now is the time, is also a good occasion for me to recap some of the experience and our observations and to share with you, especially on the commercialization and entrepreneurship area. I overlook a number of departments in Science Park, from infrastructure development, the service infrastructures, and also we call it cluster development. Cluster is a collection of companies with a similar technology in the early stage of an ecosystem. Ecosystem, you have different players that I'll cover it later. And also the startup management team. In the past 15 years, I came across probably more than 2,000 startup companies. Okay, some are successful, some are not. But I can share with you tonight some of those successful cases and not successful case, and some of the observation about the commercialization stages. In commercialization, and also this is a law school that I'll talk a little bit about the legal professional in the areas as well. Okay, and commercialization is an interesting term that this term is only used in the academia, because in the commercial world, whatever you do, you make money. You commercialize it. There's nothing that you do without a commercial reason in commercial world. And but in fact, this is an area that because of the academia drive of all these knowledge transfer, and that's why commercialization recently becoming a very important subject in the area, because in the past probably 10 years, the Hong Kong government poured in about 200 billion Hong Kong dollar into the innovation and technology. And as a taxpayer like myself, I'll ask, what are the, where's the beef? Okay, when you come to, of course, you need time to develop technology and becoming wealth and, contribute to GDP and whatnot. Okay, but as a citizen, you still demand that to be explainable, okay? So here is a Hong Kong landscape as an overview. In Hong Kong, the GDP, over 90% are service industry, okay? And only about probably 1% are manufacturing. And but people will be interested why this is so, because in the past, Hong Kong has one of the 4 little dragon, and has a very strong manufacturing. And of course, in the 90s, manufacturing has been moved to China, and most of the factory are being moved to China. And Hong Kong will become the headquarters, and the logistic management, product design, the R&D development, and such. And in the 1993, I think, the Trade and Industry Department has classified this kind of activity, that a company in Hong Kong owning a factory in China, and these are part of the service industry. You like it or not, the major part of their business is to trade, because you do service, do the R&D and logistic management. You place an order, take the order, ask the factory to make, and ship it directly from China via Hong Kong or not via Hong Kong. At the end, you are a service operation here in Hong Kong. So that is classified in the service industry. So that's why the service industry is so big. But you can see still a lot of industrialists, like all the members in the Federation of Hong Kong Industry, over 400 members, and they are very wealthy industrialists. Although their factory is not in Hong Kong, but they are kind of made by Hong Kong. So there's a study back in 2020 that the Made by Hong Kong study done by the Federation of Hong Kong Industry. They claim the services part that's servicing the industry is up to about 40% of the Hong Kong GDP. Well, it's debatable. Of course, there's a certain methodology that they put in, but it's not small. People say that Hong Kong has no industry, and it's probably not true. But in terms of commercialization IP, if you look at who are very concerned about the intellectual property, probably for those who own their brands, who own their own products, and those want to sell it to a different market. That's why patents are important. And why people would file patent? Because patent is basically a anti-competition arrangement for people incentivize their innovation to make money in the market for exclusively in a certain time. So this is why people file patent. Oh, by the way, these are all learned from Professor Lee. Okay, and the SME making products and the tech startups in Science Park and Cyberport are more concerned on the IP, and I'll tell you why. But the rest of the company in Hong Kong, they do concern about IP, but they may not be as such enthusiasts in the tech startup area. Okay. So typical technology transfer process. This is a cut from internet that you'll probably find the interesting invention by a professor in the research, and you try to make a patent out of it, and then maybe take the patent to ask somebody in the industry whether they're interested, and if not, then you put it on a shelf for a few years and see if there's somebody interested. So this process is more of like a product sale. It's marketed after it appear. And in the academia world, there's a lot of industrial collaboration, and I believe this is more chance of success than the just file a discrete patent, because you co-create with a defined problem, match the resource with a research team to co-create the solutions. And but I think the most value of the IP that generated by academia will be more of an entrepreneurship spin-off kind. Will be generating much bigger value. Okay, and in the typical intellectual property cycle, you create, you probably protect it, and then you squeeze money out of it, monetizing it, and probably either by licensing it out or just making money off the product and things like that. And then maybe at some point in time, you sell it to somebody else who are interested. And and then probably you need to manage it well so that you still keep the juice out of the patents, such as you enrich the patent pool to have more defense in your business, okay, by acquiring patents from different parties and such, from the university or from the research institution. As I know of, that the biggest IP deal in Hong Kong for patents was the one that licensed by TCL from Hong Kong Science and Technology Research Institute, Hong Kong S3. That was 35 million Hong Kong dollar at that time, about 2016, because of the LTE market that they want to enter. So that's why they need the patent to enrich their pool. So that is the purpose of acquiring patent for a business. So we talk about commercialization. I would like to use a framework so that for everybody to easier to capture. When you talk about the commercialization, what are you actually talking about, and in what stage? So I use the technology readiness level, which is proposed by NASA back in 1970s. And of course, there are some development after that on the manufacturing readiness by the Department of Defense, because some of the science may not be, even you can have a prototype, you are not mass producible and up to the industrial quality. So that's why there's another readiness level for manufacturing. And I'll talk about it later. So the level, there are 9 levels, and from basic research, technology demonstration, certain pilot production ramp up, and then market launch. And if you look at the red arrows, then basically there's 3 main areas. You prove your feasibility, okay? You develop the prototype, and then commercialize it. So in the first 3 level, primarily basically creating knowledge, okay? Maybe some patent, but not very useful in the commercial world. and the middle 4 to 6 will probably on technology development, and then the business development. And industry is more toward the business development part of it. And through collaboration that you probably can bridge the gap between the academia and industry. And so from the ideas to commercialization, there's some output from knowledge. For knowledge, it probably will be academic papers and maybe lab scale recipe and discrete patterns. Lab scale recipe is something that is just good for the paper publication. So probably 1 out of 1,000 samples that it works, the paper is okay. But for commercial viability, it's not. Means that why? Because you need to produce it. If you can't, it's something that you can't produce it. You have no commercial value. Okay. So if you pass that, and you can have a certain hardware and software and process developed, and you can generate some of the patents, and that patents will be more useful for the industrialist. Okay, some of the software you can consider to be open source as well. So that by the way, there's a certain survey that in the world probably about 20% of software patents, and software patent is very difficult to enforce. And most of the software patents are actually with some kind of hardware, so that you can realize it as a something tangible. And when you see the hardware doing this function, regardless of the software running inside, you can still enforce it. So it's more on the enforceability of the patents. So some of the open source arrangement will be more suitable for software, like the DeepSeek. They open source it. If you ask the DeepSeek why you say you based on OpenAI, it will give you an answer. It's not actually it's actually originated from the OpenAI when they were open before. Okay, and they said they are based on the earlier version of the OpenAI OpenGPT source code, and then develop from there, and then come to today's technology. So no one can challenge them that whether they are copy, but they did use the open source, and they contribute back to the open source. So nobody can challenge you. Okay. So what is the meat inside the AI is the model. It's actually not the source code. Source code is just a method. Okay. So and then when you get to the for example the hardware, and you can make it by fix the manufacturing process and know-how, especially when you are doing material research. And the manufacturing process, it makes a big difference. If you cannot manufacture, that is useless. Okay, and some of the nanotechnology as well, especially for those more advanced material going into the market without a manufacturing process to go along. Either you can't find any supplier for the machines, or you just cannot produce. And some of the company startup asked whether they should file a manufacturing patent. And some may want to file a manufacturing patent, so that whatever patent they want to file, they can get some incentive in maybe in some area in China, some subsidy or something like that. And one of the company that talked to me was so happy to show me the new machine and manufacturing flow for making toys. And I said, I filed a patent to make it, and I got award for a high-tech industry in China. And I said, okay, you filed that patent. Do you know that you're basically telling everybody that how you make it? He was silent for a few seconds. Oh, shoot. Probably he made a mistake. Okay, so something that you need to consider for a process. Manufacturing process has to be probably a trade secret among yourself. Okay, and why do people do patent in this point of time? Primarily, besides of the protection of the market that you are going to enter, and more importantly for a startup stage, is the valuation. So it's a recognition, like you get an award. Okay, a recognition of your technology being awarded as a patent. and also the area that you want to target. So together with your revenue that you constitute to your valuation. So that's why patent is important, but patent has a cost. Okay. Of course, as I mentioned, that if you commercialize via entrepreneurship, the value generation will be much bigger than you just sell it to the industry or even some of the brokers. A professor talked to me before that he said, "Oh, I'm very happy that my 3 RFID patent has been sold to a broker." Of course, he got some incentive from the university. I asked him how much that the university get from that patent. Probably $500,000 Hong Kong dollar, no, $500,000 US. Okay, so and he got only a little bit, but his investment using the government money to that project was about 5 to 6 times of what the money can they can get. The primary reason is that the discrete patent has not much value unless you pull together with a relevant figures or your fence to defend your product line. Otherwise, if you just have a few patents, it's not quite useful in terms of making business. But however, in a startup, that represent a valuation drive. Okay, so there are some myths that in the past we keep saying the lawyer slow down innovation, slow down business, and slow down all fundraising. And in fact, my take is on the contrary. If you're not considering legal aspect of the development seriously, your chance of failure is very high, extremely high. We saw people could not get the IP management well. We saw people didn't deal with their liability when testing the product. We saw people granting too much rights for the partners to market their products. Sometimes they sign an exclusive license, exclusive arrangement. They didn't know that. They didn't notice there's an exclusive word in the agreement. Of course, very long. Okay, and people sometimes ignore some of the compliance stuff, like all the company law required, and some of the audit and traceability. And if you're not getting those right, that it will only affect the valuation. I mean, when people are serious about investing in a company without a right clean traceability, there's no trust. It's difficult, especially after the investment as well. The investor will demand on the founder, the operation people to deliver the result, and the result has to be clean and traceable. And these are the things that the lawyers can play a very important role. And I do believe that there's only increased the need for the legal concern than less in the future. So the legal focus in a different area, it could be in an early stage at a very important NDA. And there are many cases where people just talk too much. Especially startups, they're so enthusiastic to talk about their products, especially in the trade show or some of the potential partners, and they just talk too much before they sign an NDA. The NDA is important. Although, I mean, if you look into really how you enforce the NDA, is also difficult. But at least you have something that they're protecting. I mean, if you don't have an NDA to sign it to talk to a partner, when you talk to an investor find out that you didn't have an NDA in place, and there's no interest to invest in you. Okay, and also the liability, that the limiting area when you test the product, compliance requirement, and sales contract, and the partnership contract. And also, a very important part that many startups ignore, it because when they start the company, they are very enthusiastic with their co-founder. Okay, But when you talk about money, bad time, and we talk about money and a good time, and without a correct and enforceable shareholder agreement, you just get divorced very easily. And there's company, their engineers don't want to spend time on this area. But this area is important, something that a legal team can give advice. And for example, people like to equally divide share, 1-to-1 or 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And with so many companies, they could not resolve. There's no single person that can call the shot when it's they couldn't come to a resolution on certain things, especially in terms of company. So if that happened, the company will not be successful. Okay, of course, when you get to more business and you need more on compliance, and the legal support is even more. I would suggest that really for startup to engage, and of course today the resources in the university is much better, and they engage the legal team as soon as possible to formalize all the legal strategy against it. Okay, another aspect, I mentioned that the manufacturing innovation, okay, and TRL was from NASA, and MRL was from the Department of Defense in the US. And this chart, I took it from one of our trip into US back in 2018, when the world was not that messed like today. Okay, and at that time, I think it was NIST to show me this chart that was one on the internet. You can't find this chart anymore on the internet. I cut it from the internet and I retained it, and that explained the reason why U.S. want to get manufacturing back to the U.S. At that time, the Manufacture USA initiative was founded by the Obama administration. And my primary reason for that is that they outsourced to different countries outside of the U.S. very early stage after the R&D. Basically, all the manufacturing technology reside in the overseas country, not in the States. And they cannot make products in the States in case of emergency. So there was an initiative that starting from the Obama administration to manufacturing in U.S. and it even amplified it to today. But I want to emphasize that they do have a point that for any startup, if you have a prototype ready, but you have no plan and ways to get it scaled up, manufacturable, it's useless in terms of valuation. Okay, no matter how great your invention or how many patents or whatever papers that you can file against that. So there are quite a number of successful examples in the Chinese tech entrepreneurship, and I think the CUHK is the biggest one. I mean, the number in terms of number of unicorn is valuation before listed get to $1 billion US, and there are many of them. Since time, there's a story behind that. In 2013, a friend from Google came back to Hong Kong and said, "Oh, how come? Oh no, the 2014 something like that. How come there's an ImageNet competition, kind of academic competition in the States that recognizing a set of image, and whoever get the highest score wins." At that time, the first one, the champion was Google, of course. The second one was Chinese Hong Kong. And then my friend said, who the heck is that? How come a Hong Kong university has won that second place in the world? And after a few years, that it became first champion, and that was the Professor Sean Tang, and his team. And finally, he founded the Sense Time. And then the other interesting part is the new chancellor, that Professor Dan Slow, that he founded in SIGTA, and Serena. Serena may not be known to a lot of people, but this is important. The T21 prenatal test of the Down syndrome, which is important, very important test technology. And I'm not sure if you have having the GNIP product. It is also another very interesting, Professor Sui that's founded that company, and this is becoming one of the very, very successful food supplement. Okay, and similar technology has been there for Yakult. Okay, and people may ask why you need this instead of Yakult, because this one has the clinical trial data that's supporting it instead of just a snack from the shelf. And a cornerstone is the surgical robotics, okay, and also from Chinese U. And the Smart More is one of the very remarkable startup that from starting to unicorn in less than a year. It's also an AI in the manufacturing technology. Okay, so when you talk about the entrepreneurship journey, okay, you can see successful story all over. Okay, so it looks like, to the outsider, it's quite smooth, but actually there is a lot of reality that the road is not that flat, and also sometimes you can get trapped inside somewhere. Okay, Jack Ma has once said that entrepreneurship is that the first day is miserable, then second day is even more miserable, and the third day before dawn, a lot of people died, and only a few people left to see the dawn and be successful. So very difficult journey, and entrepreneurs face a lot of problems. When you start a company, you need to you have to have technology, of course, if you are tech entrepreneurs. But more importantly, you have to look at the market and be updated closely about on the market and product development. And then from the outside context, you may still deal with the business side of the problem, okay, instead of just technology side. And a lot of people miss that. You keep focusing on the technology development. In the startup community, in the past, there was only a few people can have their prototype ready by end of the incubation period, and I think the team is going to change it, because this is just not focused enough on the commercial part of it. Okay, but the point I want to bring up is that in my research for my doctoral thesis, we talk about the science park, that how you engage a cluster and also develop the ecosystem. I think besides the science park do help the networking and also the knowledge sharing part, and the company's business orientation is important as well. So these are the things that the entrepreneurs need to take focus. So, but the good news is that it can be trained. Okay, so that's why there's a lot of program in the science park to help the development of the entrepreneurs. So you have to know the different stage of the development and who are the stakeholders involved. Okay, and from the technology to IPO, and you can see that probably in the early stage that will only have a do you know what is the 3F? Besides you get some government money. I mean, government is also another F. Not F, but they incubate people, support it. The 3F is full family and friends. So somebody that is foolish enough to invest in you at too early stage, probably your family members, maybe your friends, and to help you to develop the product and validate the demonstration. And then when you get your product production, then you can start to get traction from the industry and maybe even the investors. Okay, and then scale up commercial sales and IPO, of course, as easy to understand. So in that different stage, the focus for the company is that in the early stage, you find a solution for a problem, but it's not a business. It's not a business yet. And then in the later stage, you find a product that matches the market. And then you can see some traction out of it, okay? And see some customer try it and then maybe endorse it and then give you feedback. You can change. And at the end, you can find a model that fit your business, excel, so that you can do more commercial sales. These are the alphabet soup for the different stage. Minimum viable products. You have to have it before any investor, and go-to-market strategy, and then there's also a couple of customer acquisition costs. A lot of people keep telling the investor that, whenever customers pop out, I'll send all the engineers to support them. This is not something that you can scale. I mean, you have to calculate the cost of acquiring customer. That's part of the business plan that you need to do. And that also coupled with the scalability as well. If your cost of acquiring customer is very high, they're basically telling that you are not scalable. Okay, and then you have to, at the later stage, you have to think about the exit strategy as well. Why you need the exit strategy? Because some of the technology, there's only a few years of windows. Okay, you either develop and get traction, or you think of selling it out, or get IPO. Not a single outlet of the technology as we see. You need to have all of this in mind all the time. Okay, and the value of depth here, in the first value of depth, that probably you find a minimum viable products that getting a customer to test it out, so that you find a product market fit. But many startups die in the second phase, which is what I call it second value of depth, as the chart earlier say that by the US, that if you are not able to get the manufacturing ready, is very difficult, if not impossible, to get any funding further. Okay, there's a lot of people die on this end, because we saw people who very insist on the design and the manufacturability. For example, there's a certain design that requiring attaching metal with a plastic. And some of the manufacturers may suggest that why you need a metal to the plastic? For cosmetic, if that's the case, why can't you use a plastic plated with a silver paint? So it serves the same purpose now. And some of the designers so insist, and take a year to negotiate. At the end, the market window closed. So something like that, it happens in the past. So you need to find a way to make sure you manufacture and to the level that you can scale. However, if you cannot, then you probably need to think about pivoting. Pivoting is not a bad word in the entrepreneurship. I mean, people be successful when they turn to a different market or different area of focus. I can give you an example. This is one of my friend, Kong 3D. He was started by a molding guy. I mean, I'm not sure you do know what mold does. There's actually, when you do molding, that you inject plastic and they form the plastic fixture. And this is for precision plastic, so you can 3D print the mold. And of course, there's a difficulty in finding some market traction. Our volume is not big. And but he pivoted to printed metal implants. Same technology, but of course, there's a modification. You need a clinical trial. And of course, thank you to the Chinese Jew as well, that he got his product tested in the clinical trial. So now he is okay. And this is an example of a pivoting. Okay, he's still growing and healthy in the science park. And also the other part of the entrepreneurship, you need to know the value position in the market. Okay, and to form your commercialization strategy. And if you look at the high-level value chain, from material making the device, making the system, and the system supporting the software, and then the infrastructure thereafter coming to deliver services. So if you look at that way, there's an underlying bunch of people who doing manufacturing or the production of a software. I mean, if there's a service, that the production of service means that there probably is a data center or a operator on top to deliver the production version of the software. Or if not, if it's hardware that is manufacturer, that's more easier to understand. So there's product supplier and the digital service provider, all right? And of course, I add the artificial intelligence that is probably one of the new emerging service providers as well. And then you can see the consumer on the top, okay? And but you don't miss the very important behind the scene people. You know, the tools and equipment supplier behind the manufacturing. There was one time that McKinsey, the consultant, was debating with me about semiconductor process. He said the only one that have our technology is TSMC. I said no. Of course, TSMC is very strong in the recipe how to make it, okay? But who can deliver reliability, quality, and cost, productivity? Is the equipment provider, and that part has the many IP, and now you can see that ASML is dictating the extreme ultraviolet light lithography technology in the world, okay? And I mean, if they don't sell it to Taiwan, that the TSMC can do like the other people. But of course, it's not the case at the moment. But you see the equipment supplier is the one of the key driver, behind the scene key driver. So when you look at your products, where you locate in the horizontal value chain or the vertical of the value chain, Apple has one of the largest coverage from the from the system to the services, from consumer to some of the equipment. Okay, I'm not sure if you are aware that the Foxconn equipment is actually consigned by Apple. It's not owned by Foxconn. Foxconn is just a service provider funding the equipment from Apple to make the product. If you are just a point and your coverage of the strategy, your coverage to the value is so narrow, then you know that your position, that the commercialization way could be different from if your technology like large language model, you can cover a lot of things. Okay, that's very different. So I want to bring out this example. This is a very interesting guy that latest glass. 中文是李大玻璃. Obviously, there's a PolyU alumni, and there's a 李大玻璃. So what is interesting about this venture is that it's specialized in vacuum insulated glass. Okay, and he invented this for efficient building use. So in a simple word, that there's a two layer of glass, there's a vacuum inside, so you can insulate heat, cold air, and as well as sound, right? And the secret recipe is to how to make it, okay? Of course, if you have this invention in the university, probably if you follow the market after flow, that find an investor, find people to adopt it, and there's no people adopt it and just put it on the shelf. So there's no there are people in mainland making similar products, but they do not have the machines that to make it. Okay, so if you ask them to adopt your technology, that may not be possible because they don't even have knowledge and the machine to make it. So what Professor Dr. Song Ao Tian did, he provided production line. So the machine that fabricates the glass, okay, and there's a video on the bottom you can follow that they can see the first machine that they ship out. So it's more like a printer model. Well, so what they sell is a machine, and the recipe that the seal make the vacuum and also seal the glass. And this becoming the very, very interesting tools and equipment market. For those people want to invest them, they're very interesting because the cost of making all this equipment is quite low, and the probability of a scalable is high. When you cover a product, manufacturing a product, you could basically jump to the other side of the user side. So people want to make glass. So buy your machine, buy your complete line, and you can make machine like no time. So this is a very smart way of commercializing his technology. Okay. So in the digital era, as you all know, that the digital economy is important. Now it's about more than 15% of the economy are digital, okay, and it's actually growing rapidly. So remember this value chain. Today, most of the technology are integrated with digital technology, regardless of what. Even material research, you use AI to generate some of the molecules, compounds, and test it in the simulation. And you cannot find probably 99% of the area are basically covered one way or the other by digital technology and AI. So and this is emerging quickly as well. And you can see that in the market there's plenty of AI tools. Even by the way, this PowerPoint was made. Some of those are made from AI Gen AI stuff that helped me a lot actually. And even the engineering tools like coding can be done. And you are aware that the latest AI tool, Maxis.im, they can make agents of AI chatbots to assist the people. But more importantly, is he can think and find ways to execute. If he cannot do it, he will fire up a coder and write a Python code to execute to your requirement. So you see that the tools is advancing very rapidly. And there's another research say that legal AI software will become a $10 billion US market, okay, in a few years' time. And this is an important area that the compliance and legal issues will pop up more frequently because of the advancement so fast. Okay, of course the law may not be covering that fast, but the legislation seems to be relaxing on the training. Hong Kong is discussing allowing training of data without IP copyright infringement. And likewise, in the U.S., is also the copyright guideline is there's a part 3 is in the CUHK, and we'll see what happens. Okay, and even patent search, and today the search is much more easier. You can even synthesize the potential patents based on the prior arts database. Okay, this is more useful when you have a helpful for people who want to file a patent. In the past, I wrote to our lawyer about 2-3 pages of technical implementation of my design, and he come back with 50 pages in about 2 months' time. And every iteration will take about 1 or 2 months. That was many years ago. And today, probably 2 minutes. You can iterate probably within a day. You can conclude. So it's very, very fast today. And this is an OpenAI model of intelligence. Okay, from chatbot to really organizations that of AI and general artificial general intelligence may not be coming so fast, but we are at about the agent level these days, and it's only announced the chatbot when early 2023. 2 years. It's around two level up, and this is last night when I touching up this, and I found that on X, that Elon Musk's platform, that the rumors say that OpenAI is offering very expensive agents, very advanced agents, business professional, advanced developers, and PhD level researchers at $20,000 a month of a subscription fee. So it's actually about the same money that you can hire a real PhD, okay? But this PhD runs 24 hours a day. Real PhD cannot. So that's these more advanced AI agent coming means that there's a huge pressure on all of us on reskilling and upskilling. That's very important. That, however, my take is that even with advanced AI, domain expertise is important. If you do not have domain expertise, you cannot justify, make a judgment on the content that's created by AI. For people, experienced people like us that look at some of the AI generated stuff, we can say that this is right or wrong, okay? Because that we do have our own foundation model to distill to answer a question on some of the stuff that generated by AI. But I think there's opportunity that coming along with for legal aspects, the AI governance, and I think there's a lot of talk has been talked about the AI governance, and the business emerging for that. So I want to talk about the Maxis IM as a from US, and this one is a local agentic AI by Professor Lam, who is a CUHK alumni, MAE, Mechanical Aerospace Engineering. And this is you can type to the poffices.ai. You can take a look, and you can see that today it's still free. You can free to use. Okay, if he's paying for all the tokens, and I told him that I'm promoting it. Be careful of a lot of people logging in. He said he's okay. Okay, he is paying for all the. You can see that this is a product that he developed for himself for own use, and you see that from the any product ideation, feasibility study, and market analysis, and even down to the development strategy, and even when you want to apply for some funding, you need to have a research proposal ready, and there's those are the prefabbed agent that help you to do. Some even if you do research, literature review, and the methodology, and probably you fix 3 chapters of the PhD, and product development as well, and also the sales marketing. There's a lot more when you roll down the rows, and this is done by Hong Kong. Okay, try it, and I think it will help make your life a lot easier. Okay. So back to the startup ecosystem. As I mentioned, that the ecosystem composed of the players. Okay, big companies, small companies, and the big companies mostly are the buyers, and the government agency, university, funding organization, service provider, and stuff that Science Park and Cyberport are the agent that try to pull all this together to help the startup. Okay, so and also the Science Park and Cyber also put together a lot of mentors, so that the people who can make advice to the startup. Okay, and we believe that the entrepreneurship can be trained. Okay, so that's why the funding are used to support all this, and these are the startup resources in Hong Kong, and I think you can go to the different website to search, and I want to take a look at the startup programs from Science Park and Cyberport. There's from the ideation that everybody can get 100,000 Hong Kong dollar to write your business plan. Okay, if you get passed, you get 100,000 Hong Kong dollar. Okay, free money. Okay. But you have to decide whether you need to you set up your company probably in at the end of the program, 1 year, and then you get into the incubation, and in the incubation that the people will help you in terms of business strategy, IP strategy, and put together experts from the industry to support and also help you to get funding from the government, and then making the viable products. and even line up the university professors if you need the further research in certain area, that professor can help in getting some of the research funding as well. And then going to after graduation, that incubation, there's an acceleration fund to support the company to accelerate. Basically is a customer acquisition and expanding to a different territory and things like that. Of course, after that, there's other funding for the bigger startup to excel in the area. Okay. All right. So here is the a summary all the government funding. Okay, you can scan this QR code and you can see a list of everything that's available by the government. Okay, I think there's a certain takeaway after this presentation is that commercialization is a challenge, and there are opportunity as well for that. Together with all the supports, I think that the startup community will be growing, and we hope to see more successful company, like unicorns from the CUHK. We want more, okay? And for the startup management, that the leadership is really important. They look at all the aspect of the from technology to the business, and it coupled with the competitive landscape in Hong Kong and also the resources back in China in terms of manufacturing, we think that this is also very good for commercialization. And in the legal role in the digital era, that is even more important than before. Okay, to protect the rights of the founders, partners, and also how to do business, especially digital engagement of different aspect of areas. It's more you need to have a legal expert in place to help the startup to make it more sustainable innovation. And I think the Gen AI is moving very rapidly, and get your seatbelt on and think about how you can harvest it as an opportunity for yourself. Okay, so with that, thank you for your time, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Yu, for the fantastic sharing. So we have around 360 people online, but unfortunately, we don't have too much time for Q&A. So I'm now just taking two questions from the online audience. Both questions are about AI. The first question is that, Dr. Yu, as you just mentioned, AI is speeding up everything. Do you think AI is also speeding up the whole entrepreneurial process? This is the first question. The second question from the audience is that, Dr. Yu, if I'm going to have my own startup, if I'm going to write my own business plan these days, would it be weird if I don't include anything about AI?
I think for the first question, that is AI accelerating the entrepreneurship, and the answer is yes. And the information that made available is much more than before. You know, when in finance we talk about information asymmetry as a competitive advantage, and now that the information is so much that you have to decide which part you take to form your plan. But the tools is more readily available. And the challenge is that there's a lot of people having the same speed as you. So it is speeding up, and you got to be fast, otherwise you cannot compete. And the second one is about the any business plan with AI. And of course, when you write business plan, you focus more on the actual the market. Whether this is solving any pain point in the market. Is that a product that is that a solution that you can make target that problem, and is that that solution can be a product for that market. And then think about, there's a business model to monetize it. More important than whether this is AI or not AI. There are cases where we saw in the material area, if you found a material that can perform to a certain performance, that you can still make a very good business plan as long as you can manufacture. And of course, AI will accelerate your making of the plan, but not necessarily that everything has to be AI. But of course, you can show that you have make good use of AI to accelerate your process. That's okay, fine too. Okay.
All right. Because of time limit, I think we now need to conclude this very interesting sharing by Dr. Yu. Please join me in thanking Dr. Yu for the great talk. Thank you.